Your host, Keith Andrew, along here with Rich Natole, and I just want to say thank you for being a guest on my talk show.
Yeah, Natole. They say Rich Natole. There you go. Pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Well, first off, no disrespect. Usually when I don't know how to pronounce someone's last name, I have this speech to text, so you type it in and it pronounces the last name, so no disrespect.
No, none taken. Don't worry, man. So, yeah, how you doing?
Pretty good. Yourself?
Good. Now, where are you out of? Where are you based?
Right now, it's West Point, New York.
Oh, okay. You have, is it cold weather there now? You got snow?
For the most part. Luckily, it melted, but, supposedly we're going to get a couple more snowstorms. What about yourself?
I'm in Vegas, and it's cold here, actually. A little cold, little drizzly, Feels like Christmas time.
I would take the rain over the snow anytime.
Yeah. Well, the ice, yeah. Yeah, but, holiday time, it's good to have some snow. Huh?
That's true. Now, for people who want to know what Uncensored is, Uncensored's my way of showing people that even with a learning disability, I can still overcome controversy and reach my goals in life. At the same time, turning myself into a perfect example for people out there deaf, blind, or in a wheelchair. But you should never label yourself or have people label you, and you should prove to them you can still amount to something no matter what.
Right, that's right. Absolutely. I agree.
Now, with that being said, it's a half hour, 45-minute conversation. You can say anything you want. You can curse if you want to. Completely whatever you want to do.
I don't curse unless I'm yelling at my kids. Then I curse. No, but so now you interview mostly entertainers?
Well, like I mentioned, I did 125. So I started off doing only voiceover actors. Then it's like, okay, I had interviewed people like, let's see, who would you might know? Ron Kurgan Mayhem.
I don't know the name, but you probably know his work.
Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
Oh yeah, sure. Okay.
He did Goldar.
Yeah.
I interviewed well, I just mentioned the shows, and you can tell me if you know anyone. From Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the good one, not the shitty one. Do you know anyone?
I know who it is.
What about from Dragon Ball Z to the Amazing Spider-Man? Do you know anyone in that area?
Yeah, I do. I just don't know the names, But yeah, I've seen all those, and I know it's funny with voice work. It's kind of like character actors, where you know the face, or with voice work, you know the name, you don't know the names, but you know the work, the voices and stuff. With the character actors, it's like same kind of thing, where you know their face, but you don't know the name,
Right. Now, the next question I was going I'm jumping ahead. The next question I was going to ask you is, you mentioned I did a lot of voiceover actors. Yeah, it's true, I did. But I didn't want my show just to be based on voiceover actors. So I reached out to a couple wrestlers. A couple said no. I only got one of them at least. One's better than nothing. He was the brother of the late great Macho Man Randy Savage.
Oh, yeah, sure.
I also interviewed a bunch of CEOs. So basically, I interview voiceover people, actors, actresses, models, CEOs, people like yourself, just anyone who wants to have a normal conversation, and that's really what about it. For the most part, I'm lucky enough to get up to 125, but during that time, even today, I was being told, to go fuck myself, or I think what you're doing is great, but I really want nothing to do with it. So it's kind of like,
you mean a lot of people they turn you down? They say no.
Yeah, I don't know why. I'm doing a great thing. People saying you're doing great things. I don't know why they're turning me down for.
Yeah, I have a radio show here in Vegas too, and And yeah, I know people just say they say no for just to say no. I don't know why, you know.
Well, if you're interested, I would love to be a guest on your talk show. Not to impose on you, but I'm always looking to get myself out there.
Yeah, we'll do that sometime. I think it's important to. Yeah, what are your goals? Like, what do you want to do?
Well, for the most part, it's just to prove a statement that just because I'm mentally challenged, that's not who I am. I would like.
You don't seem mentally challenged at all to me. So why would you be mentally challenged?
Well, it's years of practice of putting a face on, but it's just what people would label me as, what I would be classified as.
Yeah, you seem totally fine. I mean, you don't seem challenging, in any way.
Yeah, it's years of practice. I recently had to quit my job because one reason I do the interviews is because I have social anxiety and I have panic attacks. And I tried working there for a month and a half. I couldn't do it. I used to work in retail. I used to be fine. Then I developed severe panic attacks, social anxiety, among other problems I won't mention. But
so now why? Okay, why would you? In other words, why do you think you have those attacks? Is there a reason why you think you have them?
I have no idea. I just know it just happens, and it's uncontrollable.
And you get like sweaty and kind of like panicky and.
Well, not really sweaty. Does my heart skips around and I throw up.
So is it like a fear? Is it like in other words, like some people when they have a fear of flying, they get that, or they have a fear of heights or something like that,
Yeah, your guess would be as good as mine. I have no idea how to label it or describe it, but
yeah. Well, you're doing good on the interview, so.
No, I appreciate it. Like I said, years of practice, and one reason I'm doing interviews is it's therapy for myself to get over the social anxiety, to get over whatever issues I may have, and then make myself a functional person in society.
Yeah. So what's next? What are you going to do next?
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, like you're gonna you do these interviews, and then you want to just keep doing these interviews, and you keep kind of stockpiling them. Do you want to take a career to another level, or?
Yeah, like I said, the whole point is to prove people wrong, but at the same time, I want to establish myself, saying, "Hey, look at what I accomplished." I couldn't had a lot of people saying, "Oh, you're retarded. You can't go to college. You're gonna be a burden to people," and long. We can talk more about that off the air, but it's just I would like this to turn into something. One day we have to die, but I would like to say I at least amounted to something before my time comes.
I did a show. I performed on a guy's show years ago. He had a live show, and he was a comedian in a wheelchair, and his name was Gene Michener, and he had a variety show, which was quite successful. It was like a talk show, and you'd come out and do your act and then sit down and get interviewed by him, and his co-host was a woman who was blind, very attractive young woman who was blind, and the show, it didn't go to a national level, but I thought it could have, So yeah, you can do anything you want to do. I think you could use it for your advantage, to do something, to have something different in a talk show format that nobody else has, There's no show like that on TV, right?
That's true.
Why not you? Why not you?
That's true. And if you always want to work together, I'm always looking for people to help me out.
Yeah, you never know. You never know what, you put together I think you put together a best of the best of little snippets of your show. I think if you put it on into a like either you can do one-on-one interviews like you're doing now, but you could also do an entertainment talk show format kind of show, I think it'd be something that, be unique. Nobody's got a show like that. Everybody's got these shows where they think everybody's got to be perfect and they're judgmental about everything. But you know what? You're a real person. Do a real person show.
No, I agree with you. Recently I looked in the paper and I saw an office that they're renting for. It's like $295 a month, and it has all utilities included. And I thought, I can do that. And then I realized, I don't have an income anymore. And it's like, well, it would have worked when I had it, but have to deal with what I have to deal with.
Well, how do these people that have web shows, how do they make money? There's a lot of them making a lot of money doing web shows.
Well, most of them went to college and have a BA in advertising and everything.
Like there's Adam Carolla, he is?
Had no idea.
He's a comedian. He's got a web show. He makes a lot of money. So guys like that, those guys aren't real, they're not real business people. They're just performers who did a show, and so there's ways to do it,
That's true. It's just you need to find a right group of people, and you need people with money who wants to establish themselves with you. That's basically what it comes down to. It's money.
Yeah, because I know, like on my radio show, it's like I get sponsors and people, that I make them their own commercials and we run it on the show, and they pay so much money to have their commercial run, X amount of times.
I give you a perfect example. I thought I had, a sponsor, but someone just taking advantage of my learning disability, taking advantage of me because I didn't know better. So they're like, we can do you, and you can say, well, let me rephrase that. Yeah, we can help you and say the following's brought to you by blah 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 and the KeithAndrewNetWork. But at the same time, we want you to find people for us, and you can work for us. And it's kind of like, wait, if you're my sponsor, why do I have to pay you?
Yeah, you shouldn't have to. Yeah, you got to watch out. There's a lot of scammers out there, like that. Yeah, if they're the sponsor, they're supposed to pay you, and then you advertise them on your program. Yeah.
Well, after the show, I do have a couple ideas for you if you want to hear talk about.
Yeah. Well, I got to run right after the show, but yeah, you can email me your ideas and stuff. And I would say if you should put together a little reel, like a best of your stuff, and something that you can present to people.
Oh, I have that. It's on my website. If people go to the KeithAndrewNetWork.com, and when you scroll down on the page, I did the highlights. And I did a fan-made parody of an Iron Maiden song. But it was supposed to be the all 100 interviews that I did. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, there was about 10 or 12 people who didn't want to do, the endorsements that I asked people to help me with. So it was only 89, so I didn't really want to do the best of 89 because that kind of wasn't really realistic. So it is there, and it is a reel of everyone. There's two of them. There's one with the music, and then if you go on my other page, it says people that support me. I did season 1 was the women, and season 1 was guys, and it's all the guys who I interviewed, giving speeches saying I'm doing a good thing, and it's all the women who I interviewed giving their speeches and what I'm doing. So it is kind of what you're doing, but
yeah, that's good. Well, that's basically how this all works. Is you have to just keep out there and get visible, and collect a body of work to show people. It's just a kind of a process. You have to, nothing's easy. You just keep persevering.
That's true. Now, let's go on a happier subject. Now we talk personal. Now, when you became a comedian, what inspired you, or who inspired you the most?
Well, I'm an impressionist comedian, so, I grew up watching guys like Rich Little, Frank Gorshin, Fred Travellina, these kind of people on TV, and those were kind of the inspiration for me and what I do.
Now, if you're okay with it, could you give us a couple examples of people who you can imitate?
Yeah, I mean, if you're doing Jimmy Stewart, did you see It's a Wonderful Life there? Mary, why do we have to have all these kids, Mary? See, so I started doing guys like that, Jimmy Stewart, and you do Jack Benny. You mean I'm going to have to pay for this? Oh, my gosh. So those were all voices that, when I started, I did all those old-time guys, and that was what started my whole repertoire of what I do,
Well, if I shoot off a couple names, could you do the impressions?
I don't know. Who you got?
Well, let's do the top 10, if you're okay with it.
You want me just to do, like, the top 10?
Well, I mentioned them, and you can tell me if you can do it.
Oh, you mentioned it, I'll tell you if I do them. Okay, go ahead.
All right, the first one's President Obama.
Yeah, no, President Obama kind of talks and look, let me be clear. You know how he rushes the ends of his sentences? Last week, the Supreme Court announced they would not be putting a live nativity scene in Washington, D.C. This is not for religious purposes. They just couldn't find 3 wise men and a virgin. So, and then, and if you talk about other presidents, if we're talking about, remember, Ronald Reagan would talk like this. My fellow Americans, this is Ronald Reagan. And George Bush Sr., read my lips. No new taxes. We're just going to raise the old ones. So, or Bill Clinton, my fellow Americans, this is Bill Clinton. I hate the media. The media said that when I left office, I would never find a job, but I'm the spokesperson for Motel 6. So, yeah, different voices, different personalities.
We did 4 of them right there. For number 5, could you do any professional wrestlers, or you don't do wrestling?
I never really watched them too much.
Can you do Hulk Hogan?
I mean, I've heard somebody do Hulk Hogan before, but I never really did any of the wrestlers. Now the boxers, like Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson talks like this. I've actually done Mike Tyson for Mike Tyson. And Mike Tyson said to me, he said, I'm a vegan. And I said, what do you mean? What's a vegan? He said, a vegan means that I don't eat anything that was living. And I swear, then I did this. And I said, as Muhammad Ali, I said, what are you talking about, Mike? You ate a piece of Evander Holyfield. Last time I looked, he was living. And I actually said that for Tyson, and he said, that's pretty funny. I like you. You're very funny. He was actually really nice to me. Yeah.
What about the late, great George Carlin?
George who?
George Carlin.
Oh, George Carlin. George Carlin, it's interesting. Remember, he used to go, the 7 words you can't say on television. I can't say those here. We can't say those here.
Oh, it is uncensored.
Uh-huh.
It is uncensored.
I don't. They were on his album. No, I don't want to say it because I don't want to say it. But George Carlin was a brilliant comedian. What about Rodney? Did you love Rodney? Hey, how you doing? Okay. Hey, I'll tell you something. I took a trip on LSD. They lost my luggage. Okay.
What about Dennis Leary?
No, Dennis Leary. I've never done him, but he does seem distinct, doesn't he? Dennis Leary. Yeah. He'd be a good guy to do, actually. Yeah, Dennis Leary. Who else do you like? Did you like, a lot of the, oh, God, there's, so many. I mean, how about Johnny Carson? This is Johnny Carson, and welcome to the Tonight Show. Tonight on the show, we have a brand new talk show host. Here he is right here with his webcam. Yeah, Jay Leno. Did you watch Jay Leno? Well, here's something that was in the paper. Did you read this in the paper?
What about...
He doesn't think... Jay Leno doesn't think he talks like that. Well,
Right.
There's something that's going on there.
What about the late, great Robin Williams?
Oh, Robin Williams. Oh, what'd you say? Shut up. I'm not schizo, and neither am I. Yes, Robin talked really fast like this. Oh, this is really great. Yeah, I loved Robin.
Now, who inspired you? And just one more. Can you do Mayor Quimby?
No, I don't know who that is. Who's that?
Mayor Quimby from The Simpsons. He was supposed to be like
No, but what about...
John F. Kennedy. That's who he was based.
Spidey Pig done whatever a Spidey Pig done. What about Homer? Hey, Spidey Pig. Hey, how you doing there? This is Homer Simpson here.
Well, the one thing I like about Mayor Quimby, and he was based off of John F. Kennedy. It is.
Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
See, that's perfect.
Let's fly right over Dallas. If we land, I may develop a severe headache.
Now, the next question I was going to ask you is, who inspired you to do impressions? And at what age did you start doing impressions?
I started at about 15 years old, and I just I loved movies and television, you know, and I remember people like you remember people like Walter Brennan? Remember him? Jeez, God blasted Walter Brennan talks like this, Pepina, Jesus, and like that. And guys like, well, there's John Wayne too, kid, and all those guys, you know, inspired me to do these voices, you know. So I used to watch them, you know, and go to the movies, and I love movies like Rocky. Hey, yo, Adrian, talk like this, you know what I mean, huh?
Yeah, it's funny. My sister went to this school. I won't mention the name of the school, but when she was in high school, she had a high school friend who sounded just like that. So when he used to call, like, hey, yo,
he sounded like Stallone all the time?
Yeah.
Hey, like you want to go to the ice cream store, know what I mean, huh?
What about Arnold Schwarzenegger? I was never really good at that.
I am here, and you are there, and we are here to pump you up. Could you imagine going through your life with his voice? It's not a tumor. Yeah. I like that. Did you see the movie, the Christmas movie that he's in? What's the name of it? Jingle All the Way.
Yeah, that's a classic. Put down the cookie. Put it down.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Yeah. What was that line in there? It said, "He's eating my cookies. Put down my cookies." Yeah. Or Clint Eastwood. I know what you're thinking. Did I fire 6 shots or only 5? Bonk.
There's this other one I'm thinking of. I would like you to do his impression, but he's like, trying to think of his name, but he's always happy. And if you watch the Jim Carrey 1996 special, he's always in the window with the binoculars. It's like, Clara, come over here. He's looking at me again from the window. He's on the binoculars. It's just something with a J. I just don't remember.
Oh, I wonder who that was.
He had a high, squeaky voice.
I loved all these classic shows. Like, remember Green Acres? Remember Mr. Haney? Well, good morning to you, Mr. Douglas. Can I interest you in this here one-legged cow for your wife? All those characters from all these different shows, you know. Even Lost in Space, remember that show with Dr. Smith? No, keep it away from me. Will Penny, Judy, help me, oh, the pain. All those kind of guys. So there's so many characters. I mean, in my show, I do over 100 people in my hour show, my live show.
Well, I know on YouTube there's one called, can't remember his name, but in Spider-Man it was called Eddie Brock. He was the guy from that 70s show.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why I'm drawing a blank on his name, but he has his YouTube channel of doing 100 impressions in 5 minutes. You should do something like that.
Oh, yeah. What's the guy's name?
He was from that 70s show. He was also in Spider-Man 3.
Is he good?
He's okay. Haven't seen it in a while.
Yeah, I should do that. Yeah, I can do that. Yeah, I wonder, that'd be a good YouTube video.
Now, the next question, I was going to ask you a lot of easy questions like I did. But do you have any questions you want to ask me so far? Or?
No, you ask me whatever you want.
All right, well, the next question I was going to ask you, do you have any funny stories, or did you ever pull pranks on people by using your voices?
I did one time, and this is true. One time when Saturday Night Fever first came out, okay, and I was in college at the time. Saturday Night Fever, or high school. Saturday Night Fever came out. John Travolta, I started doing his voice, and I called up the old Mike Douglas show. Remember Mike Douglas, the talk show host? It was a talk show host named Mike Douglas. And he was performing at the Hilton Hotel in Vegas doing a show at the time. And I called up as John Travolta and actually got him on the phone. I said, "This is John Travolta. I want to speak to Mike Douglas, all right?" And they said, "This sounds like John Travolta." I said, "Look, it's John Travolta. I need to talk to Mike Douglas right now." And they punched me through and I got him on the phone. And so there you go. There's a prank. And then Mike Douglas and John Travolta was a megastar at the time, and Mike Douglas was very known. So it was quite a scam.
There's a funny story on my friend Kurgan Mayhem. He did you ever seen the movie The Game with Michael Douglas?
Yeah, I think I did see that.
There's a part where there's a car scene where it goes underwater. Michael Douglas didn't refuse to do the scene, so my friend Kurgan, he did the dub scene for him. So he asked him, did he ever do any pranks? He's like, yeah, it was the producer. I pretended to be Michael Douglas, and he said, oh, I can't come in today. Oh, well, we sent Kurgan home, and it's like, oh, what's the matter? It's funnier when he does it, but it's really funny.
Yeah, those kind of things are always funny. I mean, when you hear about these guys that do pranks on the set and stuff, Yeah. So anything else you want to ask me?
Well, I asked you a lot of easy questions, but we're going to ask you the top 3 hard questions. Where do you stand on legalizing marijuana?
Well, as Willie Nelson would say, life I love is smoking doobies with my friends. I can't wait to get on the road again. What the way I feel about that is, I'm fine with it, actually. I'm fine with it. I think alcohol is a much bigger problem than marijuana.
That's true. And now while on that subject, have you heard all the bullshit going on with the media, with the cop killing the kid over a cigarette? Do you think...
Yeah, in my opinion on that, I don't think the cops ever should have been even there, period. Because I think that guy was, just a little petty kind of crime guy, and I think there's better use for the police force than harassing a guy over that. That's what I think.
And one more thing on the subject, and it's cigarettes are legal, so what's the problem? I worked with people saying, hey, you cannot bum a cigarette off you. You don't see cops jumping from the ceiling.
Yeah, it never should have happened. That whole thing never should have happened. Yeah.
Then the next question I was going to ask you was, where do you stand on legalizing, well, let me rephrase that. Like I said, I hesitate, and that's what part of my learning disability. I apologize.
Yes, okay.
And the question I was going to ask you is, where do you stand on gun control? And do you think there should be more limits on it?
I don't shoot guns, and I'm not real familiar with them. But I do think, people have the right to protect their families and their homes if they're trained with guns. But the problem is that, guns are getting into the hands of people that, that are not trained and that are doing bad things with them. I don't know, I'm kind of on the fence with that. I don't really know what the answer is. We can't arm everybody because then we're going to have chaos in the streets,
Right.
So we can't do that. We don't want the Old West. So, but we can't take away people's rights to protect themselves and their families either. So it's a touchy subject. I just think you gotta make it harder to get guns. And people have to go through training, and the background checks and everything has to be more stringent, So I think we can cut down on that. And then when somebody's caught with a gun illegally, then I think that there has to be really stiffer penalties,
I'll give you a perfect example. Anyone who's in my case, mentally challenged, anyone who's a convict or a felon, anyone who's just basically mentally disturbed, period. Doesn't matter what label you want to put. They should be on a list, and I'm okay with this. They should be on a list saying, even though it's your Second Amendment, the rights to bear arms, yada yada, if you're a danger to people around you, that right should be taken away.
Yeah, we don't want to endanger people, and sometimes children are caught up in that stuff, and it's terrible. So yeah, you just have to. I just think people need to, people need to be registered so people know who you are and what, make sure you're not a threat, in any way. The same way they don't let anybody near the president who could be a threat. We need to do that with regular people. With our schools and shopping centers and things like that.
That's true. And now our last subject is, do you believe in karma? And two questions in one. Do you believe in karma? And what are the terms to exceed in life?
Okay. Yes, I do believe in karma. I think if you do good things come back to you. If you do bad things will come back to you. Yeah, I do believe that. And what was the other one?
Terms to exceed in life.
What terms to exceed?
Yeah.
I think just be a good person, Just be a good person, Be a good person, treat people with respect.
Now, wrapping up, do you have anything you want to say to your fans and listeners out there?
I just want to tell them to support your show. You're doing a good thing with it, and they should support what you're doing and get some more interviews and keep going, man. Keep going.